again. Today we are going to discuss another chapter or another topic for the subject Government Accounting and Accounting for Non-for-Profit Organization. So I'm your lecturer for this day. This is Prof. J. So today we are to discuss the last chapter for Government Accounting, which is Chapter 10, Financial Statements. The learning objectives for this topic are: state the general principle used in the presentation of financial statement. Prepare a complete set of general purpose financial statement of a government entity, including the partial notes to the financial statement. So in this topic, makikita nyo ano yung itsura ng mga financial statements. I will be giving example ng set of complete general purpose financial statement ng government. Third, we are going to describe the accounting and disclosure requirements for events after reporting date, changes in accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates, and correction of errors. In this topic, you will be noticing that whatever is the provision and the standards used in PFRS or IFRS, the same knowledge ang i-apply nyo dito sa government accounting. And last, we are going to state the other reports prepared by government entities. And what is a general purpose financial statement? Those are intended to meet the needs of users who are not in a position to demand reports tailored to meet their particular information need. That is in accordance with PPSAS 1, paragraph 3. So, eto parehas lang rin naman yan sa commercial accounting. Ang general purpose financial statement in accordance with the standard na meron ang ina-assume natin the readers of the general purpose financial statement has a basic knowledge of the standard used dun sa pag-present ng financial statement. What are the objectives naman of the general purpose financial statement? First, to provide information about the entity's financial position. When we say financial position, this is the balance sheet. Yun yung dating term sa kanya, balance sheet. Financial performance is the income statement and cash flow that is useful to the wide range of users in making economic decisions. Yung letter B, ito yung unique sa government to demonstrate the accountability of the entity for the resources entrusted to it. Remember in chapter 1, we have discussed that one of the main differences ng government accounting and commercial accounting is that in government, we focus on accountability, liability, and responsibility. Okay? Nakafocus doon because there are resources entrusted to a government agency. When we say resources, budget, government funds. So, dito sa general purpose financial o sa objective ng general purpose financial statement, ipe-present magkano ang naibigay sa'yo at magkano ang nagastos mo. Kaya merong isang unique statement or unique component ang isang financial statement ang government accounting. So mamaya ipapakita natin yun. Responsibility for financial statement. Who are responsible in the presentation of financial statement? It rests with the entity's management, particularly the head of the entity, jointly with the head of the finance or accounting. So, papakita ko naman sa inyo ngayon, ang tawag sa kanya, Statement of Management Responsibility for Financial Statements. This is the FS of the Office of the President for the year 2019. For the year 2020, wala pa sa website ng COA or the Audited Financial Statement of the Office of the President. Wala pa sa website ng Commission on Audit. 2019 yung latest. Don't be mistaken na yung financial statement na to is the whole FS ng Pilipinas. Guys, wala pong ganun. Wala po tayong pine-present na financial statement for the whole Philippines. Hindi po yun kino-consolidate kasi unang-una hindi po tayo iisang entity. Magkakaiba po yung nature ng mga account or nature of business ng iba't ibang government agency. Yan. So ano ang nakalagay sa statement of financial o sa statement of management responsibility? Una, ilalagay diyan kung ano yung mga component ng FS. It is accompanied with statement of financial position as of December 31, 2019 and the related statement of financial performance, statement of cash flow, statement of comparison of budget and actual amounts, statement of changes in net assets and equity, and the notes to financial statement. Also, in the statement of management responsibility, nakalagay din kung ano yung standard na finalo in the presentation of FS. Sabi dito, it is in accordance or conformity with the Philippine Public Sector Accounting Standard or PPSAS. So, eto kung meron na kayong mga nababasang mga financial statements sa public or sa private company or commercial entity, yung mga nag-OJT na dyan, na nakakita na ng mga FS ng iba't ibang company. Aside from the FS, meron pong statement of management responsibility na sinasabi na ito yung pine-present namin, ano yung period, and in accordance with what standard. So dito sa Office of the President, in accordance with PPSAS. And they are signed by the accountant, head of finance office, and deputies, executive secretary for finance and administration. So sila yung pumirma sa statement of management responsibility. So what are the components of a general purpose financial statement? They are composed of 6 FS. Ano yung meron doon? Una, yung statement of financial position, statement of financial performance, statement of changes in net asset or equity, statement of cash flow, statement of comparison of budget and actual amounts, and notes to financial statement. So ano yung pinagkaiba ng public or commercial general purpose financial statement and a government general purpose financial statement? Ito po yun, yung statement of comparison and budget and actual amount. Diba? Wala yan sa mga private company. Sa government din lang yan. So mamaya, i-discuss natin isa-isa. Ano ba yung itsura niyan? Saan yung ginagamit? Paano yan pinipresent? Ano yung mga makikita mo dito sa mga component ng general purpose financial statement? But before that, let's discuss what are the principles used sa in the presentation of financial statement. Una, fair presentation. How could ano ba yung mga quality para fairly presented ang isang FS? Una, dapat mag-comply siya sa mga qualitative characteristics. Dapat lahat ng qualitative characteristics nandoon sa presentation. When you are presenting in accordance with the qualitative characteristics of a financial information. Next, going concern. Sa going concern, ang isang financial statement dapat disclose sa FS if the company is on a going concern basis. Ma'am, pwede po bang hindi going concern? Yes, kasi there are some cases in government na ina-announce ni President, i-close na natin ang isang agency na to. Ma'am, ano pong mangyayari pag i-close na? Since hindi pa close, so hindi pa siya na, yung books niya is open pa, but there's already a plan of closing, okay? Or removing the agency. ilalagay mo yun sa FS mo or sa notes to FS kasi it concerns yung going concern issue niya. So, ma'am, paano ang nangyayari po doon? Ma'am, bakit po may mga nagsasarang government agency? Una, pwedeng binenta. Ma'am, binibenta yung government agency? Yes! Katulad ng Meralco. Dati government yan, ibinenta. Sunod, PLDT. Dati government yan. PAL. Dati government yan. Lahat yan binenta. Next, ano pa yung reason bakit nagsasara? Pwedeng redundant yung function niya to another government agency. Nakita na based on study, redundant yung function niya or yung mandate ng government agency. So, ang nangyari, pwedeng i-consolidate or totally tanggalin yung government agency. Next, offsetting naman tayo. Sa offsetting, yung issue dito, same with commercial. Offsetting is not allowed. Diba? General rule, offsetting is not allowed. Like for example, meron kang binentang property or PPE, nag-gain siya. Another property, binenta mo, loss naman. Yung gain or loss doon, hindi mo po pwede siyang ipag-net. Magkaiba yung presentation niya sa FS, gain on sale and then loss on sale. Kasi unang-una, magkaibang property yon. Next, another example sa offsetting na not allowed. Kunyari, isang government agency, meron siyang kakontratang third party. Si government agency nagsusupply ng services kay third party. So, ibig sabihin possible meron kang receivable kay third party kasi nagsusupply ka ng services. At the same time, si government agency is nangutang kay third party. So, meron kang receivable at the same time liability kay third party. Receivable and liability or the payable, hindi mo po yung pwedeng i-offset and i-present ng net sa FS mo. Because the nature of the receivable and the nature of liability or the payable is different. Okay? Next, presentation of FS must be in compliance with PPSAS. It must be presented consistently and with comparable information. Pag sinabi natin consistent yung standard, yung rulings na ginagamit mo from one period to another period. Sa comparable naman or comparative information, you cannot compare information na magkaiba yung basis of presentation nila. For example, year 2018, you are using valuation method. Year 2019, you are using cost method. And then you are comparing, sa pagdating sa notes, you are explaining that the value increase because of this, because of that. And you cannot say that the performance of the company is improving because of the increase in value. In the first place, the basis of presentation is different. Cost and revaluation method. So, not comparable yung information. Next, if there are any departure from PPSAS, when we say departure, you apply different standard or you apply differently from the standard. It should be taken up in the notes to FS. It should be explained in the notes to FS. For example, the standard is already, kunyari PFRS. Sa PFRS, meron ng mandatory adoption of the PFRS 9. But your company is still adopting PFRS or PAS 39. So magkaiba sila ng basis, PFRS 9, PAS 39. So merong departure from the standard. Yun, i-explain mo sa notes. Bakit pag hindi? Magiging qualified opinion ka. Kasi you are not in accordance with the standard. Kasi ano ba ang sinasabi ni auditor doon sa opinion niya? That the FS is fairly presented. Hindi siya fairly presented because it is not in accordance with the standard. So, lahat ng departure from a standard should be discussed or taken up in the notes to financial statement. Next, materiality and aggregation. Small amounts or small transactions in government, pinagsasama-sama yan. And at the same time, government agents or in government, we issue what we call the pro forma financial statement. So nakalagay na doon ano-ano yung magkakasama sa isang account na ipe-present mo sa face of the FS. For example, may account doon, other asset. Lahat ng wala doon sa receivable, cash and cash equivalent, inventories, investment properties, investment, PPE, lahat yun mapupunta doon sa other asset. Ay, ganun po ba? Ma'am, minsan ang laki-laki ng amount. Since malaki yung amount, ang gagawin mo, explain mo siya sa notes. Materiality and aggregation. Yeah. So those are the general principles used in the presentation of financial statement in government. So let's now identify financial statement. How are we going to identify one component of FS to another component? Paano mo masasabing financial position niya, financial performance niya, anong year niya, at ano ang gamit niya? So these are the following information shall be displayed prominently and repeatedly in the financial statement. So, ito daw yung mga dapat makita mo. 1. Name of the reporting entity. Name of the agency. Whether, letter B, whether the financial statement cover the individual entity or a group of entity. Meaning, consolidated ba siya or individual entity. Letter C, the reporting date or the period covered by the financial statement, whichever is appropriate to the component of the financial statement. Sasabihin mo, for the period ended, as of or as at. Ilalagay mo doon ano yung date or yung period na kino-cover doon sa financial statement. Letter D, name of the fund cluster. Ito wala to sa commercial accounting. Dito sa government meron. Fund cluster, why? Because we have discussed in, I think in budgeting ata yun, or chapter 1 din, that in government we have 7 fund clusters. And each fund clusters must have individual set of FS. Kaya dapat identify yung name ng fund cluster. Unless they are consolidated, nakalagay doon all fund clusters. Ibig sabihin, pinagsama-sama yung lahat ng fund clusters. So makikita niyo yan mamaya. Next, letter E, reporting currency. So basically, peso naman tayo for government account, for government agency. And F, the level of rounding off of amounts. In a way, in rounding off, sasabihin mo doon billions, millions, FS. Ayan. So, for the reporting period naman, statement FS shall be presented at least annually. So, ano ba yung ginagamit nating period sa government? Calendar period po tayo sa government. So, all FS sa government is ending December 31 of every year. Yeah. So, at least annually. But they are also required to present FS or submit FS quarterly. Pero hindi po yun yung pinapa-audit natin. Or hindi po yun yung inilalabas sa public as general purpose financial statement. Yan. So, unahin natin yung unang component. The statement of financial position is presented in comparative, condensed, or detailed format. So, tatlong formats daw yung pwede. Comparative, condensed, or detailed. The condensed FS presents only line item. But the detailed FS naman presents all the asset, liability, and equity accounts in the revised chart of account. Ibig sabihin, kung ano yung mga general ledger accounts. Mga general ledger accounts, hindi kino-consolidate dun sa detail. As in, nakalagay yun isa-isa kahit anong account yun. Kahit yung account niya, ang laman lang is 2 pesos, 1 peso, nakalagay pa rin yun dun sa FS kasi detail. Basta lahat ng ginamit mong accounting entry or ginamit mong general ledger account presented sa FS, that is for the detailed FS. For the condensed FS naman, line item lang. Statement of financial position, they are presented separating current and non-current. Paano ba magka-qualify if current asset siya? Current asset if, una, expected to be realized in or is held for sale or consumption in the entity's normal operating cycle. Kaya nga ang inventory, current asset. B, letter B, held primarily for trading. Kaya yung mga investment for trading, current asset agad yun. Next, expected to be realized within 12 months after the reporting date. Kunyari, yung receivable mo is makukolect mo siya within 12 months. So, current asset yun. And letter D, it is cash or cash equivalent unless it is restricted from being exchanged or used to settle a liability for at least 12 months after reporting date. Kunyari, cash yan, naka-deposit sa bangko. Pero they are restricted to be withdrawn. Bakit ma'am restricted? Kasi pangbayad kasi siya ng contingent liability. And na-foresee, yung contingent liability mo is babayaran ng after 3 years pa. So yung liability mo is a non-current liability. So the corresponding asset of the liability is also a current or non-current liability. Since non-current yung liability, non-current asset din yung corresponding asset. How about for current liabilities? It is expected to be settled in the entity's normal operating cycle. Kaya yung mga accounts payable, they are current liability. Next, held primarily for trading, due to be settled within 12 months after the reporting date, and the entity does not have an unconditional right to defer settlement of liability for at least 12 months after the reporting date. There are some cases na pinautang ka ng bangko, binigyan ka ng unconditional right to defer. Kung yung unconditional right lies with the entity or government agency, na after 12, na more than 12 months mo pwedeng i-defer, non-current liability. But if the unconditional right is given to the creditor, yung nagpautang sa'yo, wala kang choice, hindi mo yun pwedeng ma-exercise. Si creditor, the option to exercise is na kay creditor or nasa nagpautang sa'yo. Then, you cannot defer the liability or you cannot reclassify the liability as non-current liability. Hindi na discuss yung non-current dito because any asset that does not qualify as current asset is classified as non-current asset. Same with liabilities or liabilities that does not classify or qualify as current liability will be reclassified as non-current liability. The statement of financial position is presented by segregating or giving or showing distinction between current and non-current asset and liability. So, anong example nyon? Ito po. Yan. Tingnan mo yung statement of financial position. So, isa-isahin natin yung mga dapat daw makita mo dun sa financial statement. Una, dapat daw may name of the entity. Next, name of the component of FS, which is statement of financial position. Name of funds. Ano yung period, reporting period. Dito wala na yung currency, pero mamaya ibibigay ko yung isang actual. And then sa statement of financial position, naka-separate si current asset at saka non-current asset. Same with liabilities. Current liabilities, non-current liabilities. And then, equity. So this is the statement of financial position of the Office of the President. So name of the entity, name of the component of FS, name of fund. Hindi na sinabi na consolidated or unconsolidated or individual FS kasi iisa lang po ang Office of the President. Next, as at December 31. O yan. Merong ibang nagkakamali. Ma'am, ano po bang gagamitin? For the period or as of? Or as of? Or as at? Kailan ginagamit yung for the period at saka as at? Kaya as at or as of, pwedeng as of or as at. As at December 31 because this is the cumulative amount from the beginning pinut up yung entity. Accumulation na po ito, accumulated amount po ito, simula sa simula. Kaya as of. Parang ano yan eh, as of now, ilang taon ka na nabubuhay. Okay? As of now, ilang taon ka na nabubuhay. Ma'am, 19 years na po. O di 19 years, so ganun yung as of. And ano naman yung for the period? Yung for the period, ang mini-measure lang dyan is yung performance or yung ang amount na nakalagay dyan is amount na nangyari nung period na yon. Kaya for the period. Kaya ang statement of financial position, kasi position na financial position niya ngayong period na to or ngayong date na to. Magkano na ang asset niya ngayong period na ngayong date na to? Kaya as at or as of. Yan. So, nakasegregate si current asset from non-current asset. Also, current liabilities, Office of the President, wala siyang non-current liability. Kita nyo? Meron bang rounding off? Wala, kasi nakalagay dyan in Philippine peso. So, ibig sabihin, actual amount po ang nakalagay dito, walang ni-round off. Nakalagay din yung currency, and then yung footnotes. So, yan. Statement of financial position. Next natin is the statement of financial performance. Generally, revenue and expenses are recognized in surplus or deficit. Ibig sabihin, P&L. Yung mga income and expense, they are recognized in P&L. Except for the following. Saan daw sila nare-recognize? Directly in equity. A. Correction of prior period errors. Ma'am, parang pag current period errors, sa P&L, pag prior period sa equity. Letter B, effects of changes in accounting policies. If the accounting policy will be affecting prior period, yung effect niya, direct sa equity. Pero kung ang change in policy would only affect the current period, edi wala kang mapupunta dun sa equity. Letter C, gains or losses on remeasuring AFS. So, ito yung unrealized gain or loss. Okay? Unrealized gain or loss due to mark-to-market changes. Saan daw mapupunta? Sa equity. Yan. Presentation of expenses in the statement of financial performance. Expenses may be presented according to their function or nature, whichever is more relevant. If by function ang gagawin mo, magkakaroon ka pa rin daw ng additional disclosure na i-present yung nature of expenses including depreciation, amortization, and employee benefit expenses. So, bigay tayo ng example. So, this is the statement of financial performance of the Office of the President. Name of the agency, name of the component of FS, name of funds, and then, nakalagay dyan for the year ended or for the period ended, the reporting currency, and rounding off if any. And then, nakalagay na dito yung revenue, yung expenses, current operating expenses, and then surplus surplus deficit, other expenses and gain or revenue and gain other than dun sa operating income. Okay? So, nakalagay po, ganito po yung itsura ng statement of financial performance sa government. Ito, dapat mako-cross-refer mo to. Later, makita mo kung saan natin i-cross-refer yan. Ano to? Surplus deficit for the period. Kung private po, ano po ang tawag dito? Net income. Net income. Sa ibang government agency, na gumagamit ng PFRS, meron pa po dito, income OCI. Diba? Meron pa dito OCI or other comprehensive income. So, ito po yung net income na pinag-uusapan natin sa commercial accounting. Yan. Surplus deficit for the period. Okay? Okay. Statement of changes in equity. This shows the increase or decrease in the entity's net asset during the period, resulting from the following. Una, surplus or deficit for the period or the net income. Items are of revenue and expense that are recognized directly in equity, effects of changes in accounting policies, and correction of prior period errors, and the balance of accumulated surplus or deficit at the beginning, so ito na yung reconciliation, and at the end of the period. So ito yung example ng statement of changes in net asset or equity in government. So name of the entity, name of the component of FS, name of fund, and then ano yung period or date. So beginning equity and ending equity. Ito yung reconciling item ng beginning sa ending. So add mo daw dyan yung mga directly. Ito po yung mga directly na nire-record sa equity. Next, other deduct changes in net asset equity for the calendar year. Ito po yung surplus deficit for the period or the net income or adjustment of net revenue recognized directly in net asset or equity. Bigay ako ng actual example. So ito yon. Name of the agency, Office of the President. Name of the component of FS, statement of changes in net asset or equity, name of funds, all funds, and then for the year ended December 31, 2019, reporting currency and the rounding of 11. Yan. So beginning equity and then ending equity. So ito po yung mga income and revenue directly na tina-charge sa equity. So, ito po yung sinasabi ko na dapat ma-cross-refer mo siya. So, tingnan natin. 7,871,000,000. 7,871,000,000. So, dapat parehas. Nakita? Okay. So, ito yung example ng statement of changes in net asset or equity. So, next natin is a statement of cash flow. In the statement of cash flow, ang ipine-present dito is the sources and utilization of cash. In commercial accounting, same po siya ng presentation dito sa government accounting. Nahati siya sa tatlong activities. Una, operating, investing, and financing. Yun nga lang, in government accounting, we only use direct method. When we say direct method, anong difference si direct and indirect? Sa direct method, nakikita mo yung inflow and outflow of cash sa operating activity. Sa indirect method, ang nakikita mo yung changes in asset. Change in increase, decrease in asset, increase, decrease in current liability. So, yun yung direct and indirect method. So, sa government, ang ginagamit natin, direct method. So, ano yung mga example of operating activities? Receipt of NCA and reversion of unused NCA. Receipt of provision or provision of assistance and subsidy to other entities. Collection of income and receivables. Payment of expenses, cash advances, and payables. Inter or intra-entity transfer of funds. Sa investing activities naman, acquisition and disposal of PPE, investment property, intangible assets, and other non-current assets. Acquisition and disposal of investment securities and derivatives. Collection and provision of long-term loans. For financing activities naman, we have issuing of notes, loans and bonds, payable and their repayment. Finance lease, payments pertaining to the reduction of outstanding finance lease liability. Yan. So, meron dito yung effects of foreign exchange rate. Saan siya nilalagay sa statement of cash flow? If the cash flow is denominated in a foreign currency, They are translated using spot exchange rate at the date of cash flow. Ibig sabihin ng spot exchange, so ito yung may mga translation exchange foreign exchange translation na translate or ang ginagawa niya ginagawang Philippine peso. Pero magkakaiba yung application. Yun nga lang, most of the government agency wala namang ganito kasi most of the government agency wala naman silang foreign operation. And also, lahat ng government agency ang reporting rate, reporting currency nila is Philippine peso. But in case there are any foreign transactions, so sa foreign currency is a translation using the spot exchange rate at the date of cash flow. Exchange differences are not cash flow. So saan sila nilalagay sa statement of cash flow? They are reported in the statement of cash flow separately from the operating, investing, and financing activity. So, yan. Ito yung example ng statement of cash flow ng Office of the President. Name of the entity, name of the component of NS, name of funds, the reporting period, reporting currency, and rounding off level. So, you have here cash flow from operating activity. So, ganito po yung mga itsura ng inflows and outflows sa operating activity sa government agency. Makita mo, guys, marami ditong unique or sa government agency mo lang makikita. Yan. Katulad nitong release and or transfer of NPA, reversal of unused NCA, receipt of NCA. So, yan. Mga unique. So, next natin, ito po yung tinatawag nating direct method. You see the inflows and outflows sa operating activities. For the investing activities naman, so isa lang yung nangyari sa Office of the President, bumili sila ng PPE. So, that's an outflow. Kaya, nandito siya sa outflow. Yung inflow, wala daw silang binenta na PPE or wala silang nangyaring inflow sa investing activity. Same with financing activity. So, dito, wala ring foreign currency translation. So, increase in cash equivalent. So, this is the beginning and then ending. So, tingnan natin. 22 billion 129, 30 billion 226. So, yung beginning daw na cash is 22 billion 129. Yung ending cash is 30 billion 226. So, i-cross-refer natin siya sa statement of financial position. So, ayun. Beginning niya, 20 billion 129. Ending niya, 30 billion 226. So, tama naman. So, ganun yung sa relationship ng mga statement natin or ng component ng FS. Yan. Ito po yun. Statement of comparison of budget and actual amounts. This statement shows the comparison of budget and actual amount and also their differences or yung variance. Pag sinabi nating variance, makikita nyo saan kino-compare yung variance. So, para mas maintindihan yung statement of comparison of budget and actual amount, let's define yung mga term na ginamit. Original budget. Saan galing yung original budget? This is from the GAA or the approved budget. Yung final budget naman, it considers all adjustment. When we say adjustment, pwedeng realignments, transfers, allocation, and other authorized legislative or similar authority changes applicable to the period. Okay? Next natin is actual amount on a comparable basis. Represents the actual disbursement. When we say actual disbursement, actual cash outflow ha. Outflow na ito. Hindi accrual of expenses, outflow of cash. Since actual amount on a comparable basis to the budgeted amounts are on a cash basis, they may not be always equal to the amounts presented in other financial statements. Pwedeng yung amount ng cash mo dito or ng actual amount mo dito ay hindi yung actual expenses na nandun sa statement of financial performance. Kasi possible na yung expenses mo, binili mo na or nagbayad ka na, pero hindi pa siya na, hindi mo pa siya nagagamit. So, kunyari, inventory. Bumili ka ng inventory. Dito sa statement of comparison of budget and actual amount, eto, disbursed mo na kasi nabili mo na. Pero yung inventory mo, nandun pa sa warehouse nyo. So, sa FS mo, sa statement of financial position mo, asset pa siya. Hindi pa siya expense. Inventory pa siya sa FS mo. So, the difference between the actual amount on comparable basis and the amount presented in other components are classified as follows. Una, basis difference. Kaya daw nagkakaroon ng differences kasi una, basis difference. When the approved budget is prepared on a different basis, paano different basis? Sa FS natin, since they are in accordance with the standard, most of the component of FS is in accordance with accrual-based accounting. They are using the accrual-based accounting, while this this component of FS is using the cash basis accounting. Number 2, timing difference occurs when the budget period differs from the reporting period reflected in the financial statement. Example, yung subscription mo. Yung government agency may subscription sa newspaper. Yung payment sa subscription, binayaran niya na ng 1 taon. So, every day, magbibigay ng newspaper dun sa office nyo. Pero ang kontrata nyo, 1 taon. So, bayad mo na yung 1 taon. Dito sa statement dito of comparison of actual and budget amount, yung bayad mo for 1 year, disbursement na yun. Actual disbursement na. Pero sa FS mo, may portion doon na expense, may portion doon na prepaid. Kasi hindi pa nadi-deliver, hindi pa natatapos yung services. So, merong prepaid asset na doon. Meron ding expense portion or yung incurred portion na. Next, entity difference or differences occur when the budget omits program or entities that are part of the entity which the financial statements are prepared. There are some cases na yung mga program hindi pinapa-report sa entity na yon. Sa kanya yung budget, pero ibang entity yung nagpa-facilitate. Ibang entity yung gumagawa, pero yung budget nasa kanya. So, magkaiba yung i-report mo sa FS, iba yung i-report mo sa ibang component of FS, iba rin dito sa statement of comparison of budget and actual. So, ngayon, ano yung itsura po ng statement na to? Ito po yun, name of the entity, name of the component of FS, name of fund, and then the reporting date. So, makikita mo yung particulars dito, receipts and payment or disbursement, income or disbursement. So, meron tayong budgeted amount, meron tayong original and final. Meron tayong actual amount and then difference or variance. Itong variance na to, hindi po yan naka-base dun sa original. So, this is actual minus final. Kaya, difference, final budget and actual amount. So, we have here, actual minus final. Ito po yan. All differences or variances must be explained in the notes to FS. Parang ganito lang yan sa managerial accounting. Remember, in managerial accounting or standard costing, any variances sa operation, be it under or over, must be explained or investigated. Ganon din dito sa gobyerno. Bakit over yung budget mo or over yung nagastos mo compared dun sa budget na binigay sa'yo? So, ganun po yun. We have here the actual statement of comparison and budget and actual amount of the Office of the President. Name of the entity, name of components of FS, name of fund, and then the period. So, we have here receipts and payments. Original, final, actual, variance. So, ganyan po yung itsura. So, notes to financial statement. Ano daw yung dapat makikita mo sa notes to FS? Una, general information of the reporting entity. Ano yung mandate? Ilang empleyado? Ano yung mga pagbabago dun sa entity. Nakalagay po doon. Number 2, statement of compliance with PPSAS and basis of presentation of FS. So, clear, stated po dun sa notes to FS, ano po yung accounting standard na ginagamit. Number 3, summary of significant accounting policy. Bakit kailangan i-specify? Kasi sa sobrang dami ng accounting policy na kinikreate ng bawat agency, yung mga significant na magbibigay ng significant information sa mga nangyari dun sa FS mo, ay dapat i-present. Number 4, disaggregation or breakdown. Diba, nakalagay sa FS mo or sa page ng FS mo, line item. Sa notes to FS, i-breakdown mo yung line item, ano yung composition niya. For example, cash and cash equivalent, nakalagay 30 billion. Sa notes to FS, ilalagay mo doon ano yung mga component ng 30 billion na yon. Number 5, other disclosure required by the standard. Ano-ano daw yon? Explanation for the differences between the budget and actual amount. Events after reporting date, if material. Changes in accounting policies and estimates and prior period errors. Contingent liabilities, contingent asset, and unrecognized contractual commitments. Related party disclosures, and non-financial disclosures such as entities' financial risk, management objectives, and policies. And lastly, other disclosures that are required by PPSAS or standards, but the management deem relevant to the understanding of financial statements. So, yan yung general information, basis of presentation, nakalagay dito yung significant accounting policy. Adjustments, yan, naka-breakdown. Ano yung meron doon sa cash and cash equivalent. So, ganyan yung itsura ng notes to financial statement. Alam nyo ba guys, saan nagbe-base ang auditor ng mga ng mga audit findings? Dito po sa notes to FS. Kasi anything na ni-require ng standard na i-present sa FS na hindi mo present, that is subject for unfairly presentation of FS. Yan. Notes to FS. Now, let's discuss events after reporting date. So, there are two kinds of events. The adjusting events and non-adjusting events. So, ma'am, ano po ba yung sinasabing reporting date dito? The reporting date is yung reporting period, which is December 31. So, ma'am, what are events na qualify dito sa events after reporting date? So, meron kang dalawang date na dapat or importante mong malaman. Yung reporting date at saka yung date authorized to issue, yung FS. So, date or reporting date at saka authorized to issue. If the event coincide with the reporting date and the date to authorize to issue, okay, magiging, events after reporting date. So, paano pag-adjusting event na? If it provides evidence of condition that existed at the reporting date, kunyari, nandun na siya, nakapresent na siya sa FS. Ngayon, before mo i-authorize to issue yung FS, merong nangyari, mali pala yung valuation mo. So, pwede mo siyang i-adjust yung FS. Paano naman pag non-adjusting events? Hindi siya nakapresent sa FS mo. Wala sa FS mo, hindi recorded sa FS mo. Nagkaroon ng condition after reporting date pero prior to the issuance or the authorized to issue yung FS mo. Non-adjusting event yun. Bigyan natin ng example para mas clear. Una, settlement of court case that evidence a present obligation at the reporting date. Meaning, nandun na, meron nang nakapresent sa FS, meron ka na dong liability or contingent liability or provision for the liability na inilagay mo sa FS mo. Dati contingent pa lang siya. So, wala ka pang amount na inilagay or ni-record. Contingent pa lang siya. So, naka-disclose pa lang siya. Ngayon, nagkaroon ng settlement sa court after the reporting date. Pero before the issuance of the FS, ano ang gagawin mo? I-adjust mo yung FS mo. Dati siyang contingent, magiging provision na po siya. Next, bankruptcy of debtors. Debtor that evidences the unimpairment of receivable at reporting date. Yung amount ng receivable mo sa FS mo, amounting to 100 million, yung pala magkakaroon ng bankruptcy. Yung bankruptcy na announced before the date of issuance or authorized to issue yung FS nyo. Ang gagawin mo, i-adjust mo yung FS mo. Ma'am, paano adjustment? You provide impairment loss. So, magkakaroon ng adjusting entry. Next, sale of inventories that evidences the correct NRV of inventories at reporting date. Remember that inventories are recorded subsequently at lower of cost or net realizable value. Ngayon, yung inventory mo after the reporting date na benta, mas mababa kaysa dun sa recorded sa FS mo before the issuance or the date authorized to issue yung FS. So, anong gagawin? I-adjust mo yung inventory mo to the correct NRV. Yun nga lang, guys. Itong pangatlong to, minsan hindi na ito nagagawa sa government agency. Bakit? Ang government agency, hindi naman po sila nagbebenta ng inventory. Remember that in government agency, inventories that are consumable are considered inventory sa atin, unlike for commercial. Last, determination of amount of revenue pursuant to the revenue sharing agreement with another. Next natin is changes in accounting policy. A change in accounting policy is accounted paano? Using transitional provision. There are changes in standards that provides transitional provision. Kung ipa-follow mo yung transitional provision, kung ano yung sinabi ng transitional provision, what would be the effect of the changes? Kunyari, retrospective or perspective, depende kung ano nakalagay dun sa transitional provision, follow it. If in absence of the transitional provision, paano mo daw i-apply yung change in accounting policy? Retrospective application. But in case a retrospective application is impracticable, then use prospective application. So, ganun lang. Next natin is changes in accounting estimate. Changes in accounting estimate, prospective ang application yan. Example, binago mo yung life or the useful life of your PPE, investment property, intangible assets. So, yun ay mga changes in estimate lang. Next, impairment losses. Ma'am, ang impairment loss ko pang computation yan is percentile. Naka-percentile po yung mga impairment losses ko. So, nagbago yung estimate ng impairment loss. So, yun, prospective. Hindi mo yan binabalikan yung dati mong nangyari na. Prospective application. Next is error. Material prior period errors are corrected by retrospective restatement. Yung material na pinag-uusapan natin dito, dapat mag-qualify siya dun sa materiality level ng presentation ng management. If the management, dapat ang management meron po siyang materiality presentation. May guidelines po dapat ang isang agency. How a transaction would qualify or how would a transaction be classified as a material transaction? Magkano yung level na pinag-uusapan natin dito? If material, retrospective yung receipt. But if immaterial, saan i-apply yung correction? Sa current period. Next, interim financial statement. Government entities prepared interim financial statement on a quarterly basis using the same accounting policy used in annual report. So, using PPSAS din. Last topic natin, other reports. Ano daw yung mga other reports na ginagawa ni accountant? Una, trial balance. Pag sinabi nating trial balance, the pre-closing trial balance and the post-closing trial balance. And other schedules such as regional breakdown of income and regional breakdown of expenses. This ends our discussion for this morning.